My name's Kieran Reilly. I'm a BMX freestyle Olympic silver medalist, and I'm taking over me and my BMX today to teach you 720s. I've been doing 720s for probably about 2 years now, and it was actually a trick that was really hard for me to learn because of the saturation of how many people do this trick in different ways. What I found hard about 720s was finding the right axis to land in a box landing. It was a trick I'd done fly out for years as a kid, and then when you see riders do this trick, it's really hard to spot two people doing it the same. So when I was taking advice from two people with different 720s, it kind of was contradicting itself when I was trying to figure it out. So I needed to take small bits of advice and go into a foam pit and really figure out what was working for me. I actually first learned 720s when I think I was 10 or 11, but it was with very, very little control, just spinning as hard as I can. So I didn't have much awareness or control in the trick, and that continued on until it got to a point where I wanted to do them on bigger jumps like boxes, and that's when you really have to figure out how to control the trick. You'll see in BMX a lot, and myself included, a lot of riders will learn 720s with a trick first, so combinations like 720 bar spin, 720 tail whip, and this just breaks the rotation up into almost two different spins. So I was able to do it because the 720 bar and tail whip felt to me like a 360 tail whip or a truck driver, and then a second 360. And so I could change the axis a little bit, and then going in to learn just 720s on their own, it's a lot more controlling those two rotations off the lip, and so it takes a different spin and a different angle to land well. I would massively recommend, giving 720s a few spins on flyout just to get the kind of aerial awareness of knowing how it feels to spin twice, and I think a lot of kids will learn it that way. And then when it gets to the point where you do feel ready to do it on bigger jumps like a box or a spine, I would massively recommend going in the foam pit, going at a little bit more speed like you would to hit a box jump, and just figuring out how to land like you would have landed and not fly out. Obviously, land and fly out, you land in flat ground. You don't have to have the front end down, so when you go into a box jump, you want to figure out an axis that you can spin on where you land ready to go into a bank. It's a little bit different, so there's no harm in going into the pit and just slowly adjusting the rotation. Learning 720s over a box, the biggest tips that helped me were actually really simple. So I would start off by going quite slow at a box jump and doing 360, but clearing it, and that feeling of pushing through is what helped me find the right way to throw my bike down. So when I go towards the 7, no matter how fast, I treat the beginning like a racer 360. So I'm pushing through like this to extend my bike through, and then as soon as I pencil, it's like I go up. So that little start is how you get the rotation. I mean, once you're in it, you'll see BMX riders in a 720. We're stood up and we're not really adjusting much in the air. So it's all off that start. So two simple tips to take. It's a racing 360, pushing through like this. And then as you get through, you jump up and pencil. And I hope when I show you one on the box jump that you can see what I mean. If you're looping out on the landing, it's easy to think that you need to, like you would a 360, pull back more or go over an axis to where your front wheel comes up high first. And 720 is actually the opposite. I had the same problem for a long time, and it's honestly a little bit of like a lack of commitment to the rotation you need to get on. Whether you do cork 720, flat or anything like that, you'll see just at a different level how far people throw that front wheel down, and that's what you get with the Racer 360. So if you're struggling with getting the front end down, you've got to commit to getting the front end down in the beginning. So if you're someone who went out and learned backflip 360s first, or cork 720s, that's actually a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because all you have to do then is go back to the start of the spin and slightly adjust the angle you take off on. So if you're doing a backflip 360, you're likely pushing your back wheel through like this to get the flip. And when we're learning flat sevens, we're just going to go from that and slowly bring this front wheel down to the point where popping like this instead of like a backflip. And I've seen riders do it themselves who can do both, and it's a really good skill to have. So it's good to start with a good understanding of two rotations, and we're just going to adjust slightly on the takeoff. So once you learn 720s, for me it was such a fun trick when I learned it. I was just doing them all the time, so it's good to build confidence. You're probably going to slightly adjust the angle you do take off after learning them, because the commitment's going to be there with the confidence you build. So you're going to land better and better and better, and then once you've done that and you want to add tricks in, you've already figured out this axis you want to spin on. So it's just the case of trial and error in the foam pit to make sure it works. And then, I mean, you've seen in BMX there's endless possibilities with this trick. For me, the favorite place to do it is just a nice big box jump, no tricks on it, just doing it to the point where I can really relax, open up, and it's just the best feeling trick. One thing I wish I knew when learning 720s was that it was completely different with 360. I always try to treat it like two 360s, trying to go up and do a big 3 with my front end down and then stay on that axis, which just doesn't work. And don't take too many different tips from people, and trial and error on the foam pit worked a lot faster for me than trying to make small adjustments on the resi. Thanks for watching my how-to 720. If you need any tips, get down to the park for a session or drop a comment below.